Hello, Jesus here. One of the old sticks from my place. Every time he sees me, here comes Jesus. I'm like, bless you, my son. I shall reserve a place alongside the Father for you. All in good time. I wonder what it feels like for these old folks when they're like, 80s. Let's say 80s, because when you're 80 years old, you're not expecting to wake up the next day, are you? Every day you wake up, it's kind of like, fuck, didn't expect that. My neighbour, she's 88 years old. She's been in and out of the hospital. The paramedics are there 3 times a week, sometimes more. And they're carting her down the stairs in the wheelchair, and they're putting her in the back of the van, and then they're taking her off because she's got upset tummy, or she can't sleep, or she can't poo, or anything. She's calling the paramedics. But what do? She's got a daughter. Her daughter's about 50. And she's there all the time, doing the best she can, cooking and shopping and all that. But, the little old lady, Kathy is her name, and every time she goes into the hospital, I probably won't be coming back this time, Aaron. I don't think you'll be getting birthday cake this year. I'm like, sure we will. Her birthday's in September, so, she's always saying that now, but she still manages to keep notching them off. 88 years old. She doesn't want to live. She's done with it. She's had enough. And yet, why is it that some people's bodies just don't give up? Usually, when your mind gives up, it sends a signal to the body, and then the body goes, oh, all right then. Thanks for letting us know. It's like when one partner dies out of a couple that have been married for 50 years. Well, in the vast majority of cases, the partner, within a year or 2 max, dies as well. Give up the ghost. They die out of sympathy, don't they? So, in this book I'm writing, and in all my videos, people, there's an underlying message. And that underlying message is how to be happy. I've just got to take some out of my shoe. How to enjoy life. And I've been pretty good at it in my life. If you look at the Awakened Brave and you ask, what's he good at? He's good at enjoying himself. He's proper good at enjoying himself. And he's been doing it through all of his life. But there's been degrees, and I'm talking about these degrees now. I come out of my apartment and I look at the sky. Looking up at the sky is an all-day thing for me. It's just something that is just breathtaking. And I said to one of the old sticks sitting out in the garden, I said, who needs heaven when you've got a sky full of clouds like that? Yeah, I'm happy to be alive, a bit of sunshine and, a couple of beers and all that, yeah. And so, I speak in my videos and I say, look, I can speak about these things because I've experienced them. It's not like I've just read a few books. It's not like I've heard somebody say something and I'm jumping on the bandwagon like 99% of YouTubers. Can you catch your breath when you listen to these fools parrot fashioning the same old stuff? Oh wow. God give us hope. So what I'm saying here is happiness, and I mock time to time And I'm going, you choose, you choose. You choose whether you want to be in hell, you choose whether you want to be in heaven. And don't be making excuses about it. Oh yeah, well I've got to do this. Because I said no. I'm not listening, I won't listen. Choices, you make the choices. And I don't know what you think about my life. Doing whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, in ecstasy all day long. But what is attributed to people is what's in here. It's all attributed to what's in there. Even when we are in a nasty environment, real toxic environments, and I've been in them, involved with people and places, when everything around is toxic. It's hard, don't get me wrong. It's not the easiest. And if I look at the world now, the environment, and I don't know where you are watching my videos, but if you look around this little suburban town, everybody's got their nice pretty little house and the pretty little gardens, and there's trees and flowers everywhere. I don't know if it gets any better in the whole world. I really don't. You know, and if a shit kicker like me should be walking down the avenue in Beverly Hills or something like that, well, I'd have the cops on my case. I've got a rucksack on, I've got sandals on, I look like I could possibly be homeless. Obviously, this rucksack is containing contraband, and there's bound to be drugs in there with a hair and beard like that. You know, all this sort of stuff. So I wouldn't want to be there. I've been there. I've been Beverly Hills and, you know, mansion upon mansion. But there's nobody happy in these places. And I'm telling you, there's nobody happy. And Jim Carrey is an advocate for this. He said for years he was just acting, being somebody else. He was even acting at being Jim Carrey until in the end, obviously, he took some drugs and he realised that he's just a group of tetrahedrons, as he likes to say, and it's all just been a wild fantasy and an invention. And so now, when he goes out, he gets invited to venues, and people are expecting they're going to get zany Jim Carrey. They don't. They get a very pensive, a very metaphysical, philosophical Jim Carrey, who's took some entheogens, he's had tragedy in his life, and he's realised a lot of things. He likes to paint and express himself, so some of you may have seen some of his videos where he does that. He's got one apartment which is just like his painting studio, and he just buys thousands of tubs of paint and huge, you know, whiteboards, and of course he can, and then he just throws paint, and he dances in paint, and he rolls in paint, and he splatters it all over, yeah, because he can. He's expressing himself. He's evidently, his painting was his release from what he's supposed to be when everybody sees him. They've got an expectancy, and he got tired of it. He just didn't want to be goofy Jim Carrey anymore. And so now he's a different person, isn't he? He's found that certain something, and in my book I'm speaking about finding it and what it is. But if I look at myself and I try to convey something to you, then having the freedom, simply people, just having the freedom where you don't have to do anything really. Often I think getting up in the morning and doing my ablutions is something that I would rather not do. You know, this is one of the reasons I don't do hair thing anymore. I don't do the shaving thing anymore. It just is what it is, because I'm just letting it be. My teeth, I make sure that I clean my teeth, because I don't want the ramifications of not cleaning my teeth. And then of course to go and do this stuff, you know, up the gym, you know, it's not the most exciting of pastimes. Going into a gym, it's a sterile environment where everybody in there are disgruntled with who they are, obviously, because you wouldn't be in there if you were entirely happy with who you were. If I don't go to the gyms, I look at myself and I feel myself, and I don't like that thing, this body, when things start to get soft and oh wow, come on, here's one for the pot. Isn't she gorgeous? Oh my. Now, we saw one of these yesterday, didn't we? It's a shaggy parasol, ladies and gentlemen. And that is a nice accompaniment to eggs and bacon. Now, I don't have a suitable container to put it in, and so what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to hide it, because people just want to kick them around and destroy them. As soon as they see them, because they don't know what it is, they kick it and destroy it. And so I'm going to just pop it down there, and I'll pick that up on the way back. But having the state of mind to just go off on a tangent, to do whatever you want to do, it really is heaven on earth. And whatever you've got going on inside here, it makes a vast difference. Now, if we are financially stable and we are not pining for a partner, we're not pining to be loved, we are not wishing that we were somewhere else, like, you know, the vast majority of people do, working towards their holiday, counting down the days and building it up into astronomical, you know, magnitudes, until when they get there, it's kind of like, is this what my life is all about? Just getting drunk to drown my sorrows and burning my skin because I'm so intent that I must be tanned, having spent all this money, when I go back, because there's nothing more disappointing than your friends and family saying, "You're not very brown," as if that's the only thing you've paid for. "You're not very brown." Oh, don't you just want to become a Ted Bundy when people say that sort of crap to you? I do. Ted Bundy was a very, very nice chap, by the way. All of his neighbours loved him. He was the sort of guy any girl could take home to mum if they wanted to end up in a freezer. Actually, Bundy never put his treasures in the freezer. What did he do? He took them out into the woods, having strangled them, and then made love to them. Wow. Oh. Anyway, moving on. It's all in here. Change how you think, and then you'll change how you feel. And so this is the thing about meditation. You've all heard of meditation. It's been told to you a gazillion times. And if you still are not, if you still don't have the kingdom of God within you, then you're not listening. I have a meditation most mornings and every night. And so after a spoon of kratom is the perfect time for a meditation, because you're just ready for it. And so going into a meditation in the morning when you're not tired, so you're not going to be falling asleep or nodding off, then you just go into that vastness of stillness, and you've got gentle thoughts just passing by like ships in the night. And you don't pursue them, you just look at them and go, oh, cool. And then you go on to something else and you follow the breath, and so you narrow down your consciousness till your consciousness becomes tired and it doesn't want to think of stuff anymore. And then you're in that space. And then when you do that over a long period of time, it settles the mind. It stills the ego. And, you know, conditioning the ego is a major thing, because our egos, they have a propensity, and it is in actual fact their job to always keep us busy. Always kind of like, it's kind of like a dog. You know, if you live in, you know, out in the sticks, then as soon as the dog hears something, breaking the silence, and you go, for goodness sake, dog, all I want to do is get some peace. That's why I came out into the country. But every time you hear a twig snap, because that's what dogs do, protecting their master, letting you know something's breaking a twig over there, by the way, you might want to pay attention to that one. It's kind of like, oh, thanks, dog. But you know, we're no longer, most of the world, living in a place whereby the sound of a trick really triggers the cortisol within our brains. You know, it's not something we're accustomed to being afraid of these days. You know, you only be afraid of a twig breaking when you're in a horror movie in the middle of a wood. Then when a twig breaks, it's the most scariest thing you've ever felt or heard. There's a huge minor bee. Now a minor bee is like a bumblebee, only they dig in the ground. There he is. They're a solitary bee and they dig. Look, there he is, he's digging. What are you digging for, mate? What are you digging at? You're mining. Look at him, he's got quite deep, hasn't he? Whoa, wow. He's actually gone right in. Hang on. I've often wondered what they're doing. What is it they're mining? What are they living on? Some sort of a mineral from the ground? Minor bees. Hey, you didn't know that, did you? You learn something every day with your Wake and Brave. So what is it that we really need to learn? What is it that we really need to grasp if we're not going to be Satan's entourage? If we're not going to be trapped by those satanic trinkets, those egotistical principles. You see, the ego works with Satan because it's stupid, and the ego will just work with whoever is influencing it at the time. So what we have to do is we have to take over from the exterior influence, and we have to influence the ego from the inside. And we have to go, ego, what we're going to do now is we're going to sit down for a whole hour and you are going to shut the F up. Right? That's what you're going to do, ego. And I'm not listening to, yeah, but I'm bored, and yeah, no, shh. Shh. And over time, as soon as you go into this mindset, the ego's like, oh, not that again. Yes, that again, ego. And so, all right then. And, you know, it doesn't want to admit it, but it even enjoys it itself. A little bit of respite from itself it enjoys. And so we condition the ego, ladies and gentlemen. Because the shocking thing is when we wake up, we realise that the ego isn't us. It's kind of like, I thought the ego was me all these years. You know, let's say for me, you know, when did I wake up? 12 years ago. Not that long ago. And it's not like, you know, I was super fast asleep. I was very aware, but I was very ego driven. And, you know, that's what took me all around the world. That's what entered me into businesses and all different sorts of relationships and everything. Everything I did was driven by the ego. There was nothing that was driven by spirit, unless the underlying facet of my whole life was about spirit. And this is what I'm speaking about when I'm speaking about how there has been the unconscious facet of our lives which have been guiding us. So I seriously believe that I've been guided via my spirit to experience all of these things, but it was the ego that made it possible. It was the ego that took me there. It was the ego that had to overcome all of the obstacles which was going to prevent me from doing it. So my spirit has used my ego up until the point whereby it needed to step in. Now that's a pigeon shell. Interesting thing about pigeons, they actually have many broods. They will keep mating right up until December, and so whereas most of the birds, they do 1 or 2 broods, the pigeons will knock out half a dozen, and you'll still see them sitting on the nest even up until November. And you think, wow, you're taking some chances there, because it could get really, really cold, and whilst you're away looking for food, which is going to be sparse, then your offspring, they're going to be freezing in the nest. So it's elderberry time, guys and gals. I'm going to have to pick some. Just make some elderberry juice, you know, just so I know what it's like. They're perfect, ready to go. I think I'll have those on the way back. The rose sips now almost ready to go. I'll have a bunch of them as well. The blackberries are everywhere. Oh my goodness, just stay concentrated. Aaron, these people, they've not got time like you. They've not got, you know, hours and hours just to sit there whilst you're foraging and talking shite. They've come to you for a little bit of information which may save their lives. And they want it now. Can you give it to us now, now, now? Boom, boom, boom. Mr. Awake and Brave, and stop with this nonsense. A lot of what I do in my videos is in the face of the way people live their lives, meaning that they want it all now, and they edit out anything that they would consider wouldn't be super interesting in their video, because the last thing any YouTuber wants is for anybody to think their videos are boring and don't put a like down and unsubscribe and don't come back again. You know me, I've never give a flying about any of it. I'm not doing it for you per se. I'm doing it for the ether, because whatever I say is going out there, and somewhere along the line it's going to be entering human consciousness. So whether you listen to my videos or not, it doesn't matter, because I've said it. It's gone into the Akasha, and is going to be coming back via somebody else's antennae. And we know this happens, people, because particularly over all these years I've been meditating. I'll come out of a meditation and wow, I would have just had downloads upon downloads, and I'm like, where does this information come from? Is it stuff that was in my unconscious? Is it stuff that I just, watched on the telly without really listening? Or where did it come from? And most of it I'll go, well, no, that's pretty original, mate. That's why you're so great. You're Awake and Brave, because you really do come up with a lot of original stuff. And so I go, okay, yeah, cool. Well, where's it come from? Well, it's like, where does any of this stuff come from? With people that are tuned in to that particular frequency of the Akasha to be able to get the downloads. Like the Beethovens and the Schuberts and, many other people in many realms. And we don't have to be, really recognised geniuses to be able to do this. It's something which is available to most of us. Once we get into that space, once we're not thinking, concentrating, scared and all this stuff, once we're not there, once we just go, fuck it! And then you go, hey, what's that over there? What's that green stuff on that tree? Ooh, it's moss. What is it? It's like a little forest. Is there life? Is it an alien? Ooh, it's interesting. It feels nice. And so you get into all this stuff. And then you get a magnifying glass. When you look closer at it, and you see loads of little creatures scrabbling around in the shrubbery. You go, wow. I mean, that's really cool. It's much better than thinking about her indoors. And she's pissing me off. Well, my boss, he thinks, and all that. Come on, people. This is it. There's an exercise that you can do, but it takes consistency, it takes time. It's like meditation. You see, look, meditation, when we close our eyes and we meditate, we get the thoughts, and it takes time before we can still our minds and condition the ego so it doesn't keep fighting. It's fighting for its own survival because it thinks it's dying, because it does. In the initial stages, it can't comprehend what's going on, why the ego is being compromised so much, why is it being turned off, and it gets angry, and that's why it will tell you that it's boring and this is bullshit and you're never going to be a good meditator. And then when you go, yeah, you're right, it goes, hee, all right then, come on, let's go down the pub, let's do some other crap. And so it's the same thing when we're walking, when we're out every day and you've got these thoughts infiltrating your mind. You just go, no thanks, no thanks, thank you, but no thanks, I'm good. I don't need to think about her. I don't need to think about him. I don't need to think about that. I'm open. My mind's just open. And actually not thinking about anything in particular is really cool. Because what that does is that when you're not thinking, it enables your other senses to become more alive. So then you hear more, you see more, you feel more, you intuit more. And it's kind of like, that's really cool. That actually is real cool. And we know when we lose one of our senses how all the others become more heightened. So that's what it's about, people. When we close down the ego, everything else becomes heightened. And so if you can close down your ego, look at the powers of concentration that you've got, which will enable you to focus on other things. Now, for me, when I'm writing my book, there's a zone that I've got to get into, and there's certain places in my day where I sit down and I write. And what I have to do before I do that is just to gather my thoughts and go, okay, so where did they leave off? What energy was I in? Oh, okay, let me go back there again now. Oh, you're in the energy, like describing what the nature of God is. Right, oh, yeah, it's a tricky one. it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. How am I going to do it? Well, okay, well, how I'm going to do it is by describing experiences that I've had. Because that's what I do. I describe the experiences that I've had as articulately and as detailed as I can. And then I'm like an artist painting a picture. Now, I'm a rubbish guitar player by all accounts. I'm a rubbish singer. I'm not musical, gifted in any shape or form. And I struggled with that for many years. My determination was second to none, and I stuck with it, until in the end I just had to let it go, because I was never going to be anything. And it's not like I was never going to be famous or anything like that. I was never going to be what I wanted me to be. The vision I had, that delivery of freeness of expression. But you see, I can't do it in a vocally pleasing way, but I can do it in an oratorial way. And it's kind of like, well, you've got an amazing gift in how you convey your mind. Your mind's clear and your memory's great, and you can retrieve things, and you can keep the story going, and you can make it interesting, and you can go off on a whole bunch of tangents, and then you bring it back in a summary and conclusion. You're good at that, mate. And so what do you want? To be great at everything. So why don't you just capitalise on what you're best at? And I'm like, yeah, that's it. It took me 60 years to work that one out. But now, whatever years I've got left, I'm going to capitalise on what I'm the best at. And good at being an orator. And as it turns out, that writing isn't that much more difficult. I thought, well, I can only type with 2 fingers, and and that's going to take forever. But it's quite amazing how fast these 2 fingers can go when you're in the flow. And it's kind of like before you know it, you've got a few pages down. And so, let's not put too many obstacles in the way. Let's just work with the gifts we've got, and spirit will help us to do that. And so I don't even think about my fingers and thumbs on the keyboard anymore. There's just a flowing that I'm in, and when I put myself into that mindset, and then I recall the experiences that I've had, so then I'll get the feeling of them, and then I'll add something. Invariably I'll add something new which I didn't know at the time. With retrospect, you see, looking back, I can add some wisdom to that experience. And so so then I'm almost where I'm supposed to be now. Well, actually, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be here. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm out in the beautiful ambient midsummer breeze under the sun, gazing up at wonderful, incredible clouds, feeling fit and healthy and young, and pretty smart and accomplished in my own little way. So I'm exactly where I should be. I shouldn't be there, not now. I'll get there in a few minutes' time, when I should get there. So this is the thing, you see, we catch ourselves. Oh, I should be here, and I should be doing this, and I should be at this level now. Should. Who says? Did the universe tell you that? Or did ego tell you that? Ego told you that bullshit, people. Don't listen to the ego. Listen to the universe. Feel the universe. And when you put the ego aside, and you don't allow it to demean you, manipulate you, bully you, coerce you, and all the rest of it, when you just settle into spirit, spirit will tell you that you're perfect, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be. So have a think about that today, people, and reflect upon the poison that your ego is feeding you, because it knows no better, because it hasn't been conditioned. Once you condition it, then you can get it to work with you instead of against you. Because it's just like an unruly kid. If you don't discipline the kid, it's going to do whatever it wants to do. And the ego is a kid. So you've got to bring a level of discipline, maturity into it. And then when you do that, then it starts to work with you. And so what's happened with me now, some of you will know this from reading my book, I've come to a time in my life whereby ego and spirit have a very good relationship with each other. There's no fighting anymore. Spirit accepts ego for the invaluable job that it performs. Ego accepts spirit as the master. As succinctly as I can say, as the master. Spirit is king. Ego is just the employee. And so once you've worked that out, then you have a partnership and a unity. Until that happens, until you've become awoken and then took mastery over the ego, you won't know what's going on, because there'll be too many forces that you can't understand. And so we have to look at them, we have to work things through, we have to understand them, and then we have to make certain compromises. And now the ego, we cannot ever set it aside 100% because it is our operating system. So we just have to send it on a few courses to upgrade. We've got to upgrade it. Keep upgrading it. Make sure we upgrade all the time. And then, it's like business. When something, unforeseen comes into the equation, you've got to have a board meeting. You've got to assess, what is this? How are we going to deal with it? Is it friend or foe? And so you look at it, you discuss it, and then you come up with a format and a way forward. And then you continue, don't you? So, catch you guys later.